Hello and welcome to road.cc's Home Mechanics Week, where today we are doing the most important bit of maintenance there is, changing an inner tube. And Jack reckons he can do it quicker than me.
Yeah, well, I'm quietly confident. Yeah, you did try and trip me up before, like, you know, loosening my valve or anything, but like, no, I think I'm quietly confident.
So yeah, we're going to go and have a race, and then come back, give some tips on how we think you can do it fast, but effectively. Let's get to it. Right, can we get a countdown? 3, 2, 1, go. Right, I know this is a race, but I'm still going to line up the text with the valve hole, because when you're out and about on the side of the road, it's really useful to know where the valve hole is. Right, that's that one. I'm going to put a bit of air in here, because some people do put them on without, but I find it really helps to stop it from pinching. Where's my valve hole gone? See, this is what I mean. Who put it down there? Go around, I think I'm losing. Make sure it's down in the center all the way around. And then I'm going to put on the second side of the tyre. I always start from the valve hole, from the valve, and work my way around. And then, when you get to a bit that isn't going on very easily anymore, like I have there, you can go around and push the bead of the tyre down into the central groove of the wheel, because that gives you a bit of extra rubber to play with.
Oh, Jenny, I think the small talk's cost you.
I'm definitely behind, aren't I? Oh dear, it's not going well. I think I've got a bit too much air in my tube.
What are we pumping up to?
What is it, 32?
Yeah.
Go a bit higher and then come back down or something. Deary me.
65?
Yeah, that's still quite high for a 32.
Well, I had time.
Screw that on. Oh, I'm definitely behind.
Bingo. Was anyone timing? No need. I haven't got a watch, this is just a show, everybody.
I've lost that badly. When you're done, go around, check that the bead is
I didn't feel the need to check
all the way around. Well, otherwise you put it back in your bike and then it's got a wobble, and that's really annoying.
Well, I was confident that I hadn't made that error.
Right, let's go through some tips back in the studio.
Yeah, you owe me a tenner.
Right, well, congratulations, Jack. You did beat me fair and square there. I have a whole list of excuses lined up, but you know what, I can't even be bothered to use them. But what we should do is go through how we both did it fairly quickly, and how we think people at home can better do it, so that they're not stuck by the side of the road, gone through 3 tubes, and yeah, they can be on their merry way quickly.
Yeah, well, there's no absolute right or wrong way, is there? But we had slightly different techniques. So you opt to put one side of your tyre in first, and then put the tube, and then do the rest, and then pump up. I put my tube around the rim first, then put both sides in, one after the other. Or I tried to anyway. I did actually. The first side I put in, some of it slipped out at the end, which slowed me down somewhat, but it was still a convincing victory. Yeah. So I think my technique is in terms of pinching the tube, which is something that we'll talk about this soon. That's something you definitely want to avoid. But my technique may be riskier, but I think as it's shown, possibly a bit faster.
Yeah. So, tips to avoid pinching the tube: A, put some air in the tube before trying to fit it.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. B, make sure the tube is the right size for the tyre and rim. So, for example, these are 25 to 32 mil tubes. That's a 32 mil tyre, so that tube fits that tyre. However, if you use one that's too skinny, then you risk not being able to seat the tyre properly, and then that could potentially be dangerous or just uncomfortable. And B, if you use one that is too big for the tyre, then you run quite a high risk of pinching it because you've just got too much material going on in there.
Yeah. Obviously, if you've got a tight combination, and luckily the wheel and tyre we were working with today went on pretty buttery smooth. We didn't even need tyre levers, but if you do need a tyre lever to get that last little bit of lip over, it's just make sure that you're not digging into your inner tube there, because that could be pretty disastrous.
Yeah, so this is a Lezane tyre lever that you could potentially use. This one's quite a big one, so good for a workshop. You might want something smaller in a saddlebag or something. But these are really good because they've got lots of rounded edges and you're not likely to pinch something with it. And also, I always use a plastic tyre lever rather than a metal one, because metal one, just more sharp edges, and especially if you're using carbon rims, then you risk damaging something, and I'd rather snap a tyre lever than a carbon rim.
Yeah, I mean, some cyclists, very confident ones, do swear by metal levers. They're very tough, obviously, because they're metal, and they're very good at getting a tyre over the lip, but you're right, maybe the chance of something going wrong is probably higher.
I think for the majority of us, plastic tyre levers is the way to go. Other tips, always make sure your valve cores are tight before leaving the house, actually, because you go and buy a set of new tubes, go and check your new tubes now. I almost guarantee, I don't guarantee, that the valve core is loose in them. And then it's January, you're out on a ride, you've got numb hands, you've just spent all this time messing about trying to change your tube. You finally do it with your mini pump, you take it off and all the air just rushes out. And that is just, I've sworn a lot when that has happened to me. So yeah, save yourself that drama and make sure your valve cores are tight before you leave the house.
It's worth adding, not all tubes do have removable cores, usually more budget ones, as I know. So you could, to avoid that happening altogether, you could just buy tubes with non-removable valve cores. But yeah, they are useful if you ever want to extend them, or they're usually just more quality tubes.
Yeah. As I said whilst we were doing the race, which I probably should have done less talking and more going, I always like to line up the logo on the tyre with the valve. That is so that it's easier to find the valve, but also it just helps you look more pro.
Well, it does look more pro, yeah. In terms of speed, which you won't know much about, but speed and efficiency of getting the tube on, we were talking about this before. Of when you're going round there, so that if you notice my technique, I like to sort of dig it into myself while I go, is making sure that as much of the tyre as possible is in, well, you're aiming for the centre of the channel when you're putting the tyre, when you're putting the tyre in, because if you think about it, when you come round to the tighter bit at the end, so I sort of go right there and then I'm dug in there and then getting the last bit on. The further the tyre is fallen into the centre of the rim, you're going to have more to work with when you come to getting that last bit over. If it's spread over the circumference of the rim, then you're going to have less to work with when we get to the end. So that's probably our top tip for speed. And I always start at the core as well. Where I'll start at the valve when I start putting on, and then I end up almost 180 degrees the other end when I put the last bit on.
Final bit of advice is, if it's cold like today, I would always recommend putting your tyres in the airing cupboard or somewhere warm, just to heat them up a bit. And then if you do that, if you use a cold rim as well, a cold wheel, so get your wheels out of the garage, get your tyres off the radiator, then it'll make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, out on the road, it's worth adding that that's not going to be possible. So my final tip is make sure that you're going out on a big ride, multi-day event, or even just for a training ride. Make sure that your wheel and tyre combination, that you know that if you're out in minus temperatures, howling winds, make sure that you are able to do that. Because be honest, we had an occasion earlier, didn't we? We had a tyre and rim combination. We were like, bloody hell, this is difficult. And with cold hands out in the middle of nowhere, I'm not sure I would be confident using that combination. So that would be my other tip. Just make sure that you're physically, because you're not always be able to do that, are you?
If you do have a really hard set, then you can try out, like, there's tools that exist like this that might help you out if you've not got too much thumb strength. So that's worth noting. And also always make sure that your spare tube has enough valve to fit through your rim, because otherwise
yeah.
you get buggered.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good idea.
No.
So, find out that it doesn't pop out of the other end. No, then you won't be able to pump it up. No.
Yeah. So anyway, we hope you've learned something this video, even if it's that I'm slower at changing tubes than Jack. Whether you are fast or slow, I think it's a skill that every cyclist should know how to do. And even if you don't, still take the relevant bits of equipment with you, because just because you can't change a tube, someone will be along that can. So, and if you've got the right tube and stuff, then they'll be quite grateful for that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, then please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for lots more bike stuff, and we'll see you next time.